everybody. How are you? This is Kendall Bonner here with one of my favorite besties out there, and that's Matt Richling. He is so amazing, guys. I can't wait to share with you, some of his insights, some of his thoughts. He is one of my friends in Canada. He's a team leader actually at Remax Hallmark Realty Group in Ottawa, Ontario. And he's been a Remax agent since 2006. Since he was started in the industry, brand new agent, 2006, and has been killing the game ever since. He's been a solo agent. He's been a team leader. He is an Inman ambassador. That's actually where I met him, was at Inman. And it was so fun because, one of the things you're going to see about Matt is he's just got such a great smile, and he's so fun. And you do. Like, you're known for it. I've seen people have been comment on your social media about it. Just what a great smile you have, that you've even passed down to your girls. You have two beautiful daughters. I know that as well. And anyway, Hall of Famer, tons of awards, also does good things. He donates to the homeless, collects clothing. I mean, you're just an all around amazing human being. And it's an honor and a pleasure to be your friend. And thank you for spending time with me today and sharing some of your story and some of your insights with this audience. So thank you, Matt.
Well, thank you so much. And anytime I get to spend with you is an awesome time. Always, right? no matter where it is, I've always have a blast with you. So
I feel that way about you. It's just so awesome. Whether I see you in person or we do our phone calls or Zooms, we've done a few things now together. And I just always have a blast, and I always look forward to it. So thank you. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about for our audience is, everyone, we all know there has been a shift happening over the last 6 to 12 months with our industry in real estate and across North America. You're in Canada, I'm in the US. It's interesting. Sometimes our countries do totally different things and we're experiencing at different times. Other times, like now, I think we're experiencing similar challenges. And so I think that makes it really insightful for people to understand what's happening in Canada and parts of Canada compared to the US. And so this market shift we're always talking about. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting though, because when you have that market shift, we'll call it the market crash. I think it was 2009, right? Yeah. We were affected, but only from the media standpoint. And now we're actually affected, right? Now we have the same issues essentially that are affecting us. But anyways, I always thought that was so interesting that we're two different markets that sometimes share the same, issues.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So.
I know, but you're right though, because because our countries are so connected, you'd almost think we'd experience all the same things, like you might see across state lines and things like that. But sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But I think it's so good because we get to learn from each other and we get to kind of prep each other for what's happening and what's to come and what has happened and learn all those lessons together, right? So market shift. First, let's establish in Ottawa, have you guys been experiencing the market shift that many of us in the States have, which is basically inventory is still low, sales are down, but we still have strong pricing, at least in Tampa we do. How about you? What's your market like right now, Matt?
Yeah, well, I think the coolest thing was because of attending things like Inman and the networking that comes from that, we were able to see the market shift months before, right? We saw you guys going through it, or we saw certain pockets of the States going through it, and we were like, ooh, this is most likely coming. And then obviously it did. But and being able to see it come first, we're, for us where we are, we're about 4 hours away from Toronto. And so often for us, when we look at what's coming, we look to Toronto, and then we kind of look at the same sort of mentality for the States. And it was so interesting to see that coming in advance. And so, yeah, we saw the same thing. We did see certain pockets, overall pricing decrease, right? 100, 200K, depending on what it was. But we saw multiple offers vanish. We saw first refusals, condition of selling the house come back, all of these types of things, which had been we'd pray for them, and all of a sudden now they're back again. And you kind of Q1 for us, half of Q2 we were order takers. And then all of a sudden it was like overnight, if the lights just kind of turned off, and, we had to work hard again. And it showed who wasn't doing the work in, Q4, Q3 before. Now, all of a sudden you were able to see that with without a magnifying glass.
Yeah. And so, a couple of things I want to say about that. Number one, I love that you brought up the fact that going to events enriched and opened up your network, which allowed you to kind of get outside your height. Like, we all know real estate's local, but you got to get outside your local market to really understand what's happening locally, so you can compare and contrast. So I love that you brought that up. I think that's so important, going to events, meeting other people, networking. Again, that's how you and I now know each other. And then also too, it's just that 90-day shift, paying attention to the timelines and things. I think that's another key point you brought up that I think is super important to acknowledge, and watching that, right?
Well, I think it caught a lot of us off guard. I know it caught us off guard, right? When things were going well, you don't have to pay attention to certain metrics, right? Oh yeah, people are doing their things. Look, there's deals coming. Cool. Yeah. Right. And it was really interesting for us to catch that shift. And it ended up forcing us to get stronger as a team, but it was so interesting to see it come. It was interesting to see it then happen. And then now obviously the fallout, or not the fallout, but I think the reorganization, maybe, I don't know, but it's how we're coping with it.
Yeah. So speaking of coping, I feel like there's been, you and I talked about previously, there's these other shifts that are happening as a result of this market shift. And so one of those shifts that I want to talk about is the shift in the agent, right? There's been a lot of impact on the agent. You and I were talking before about hustle culture. I know different people have different perspectives on the hustle culture. Some people believe in it. Other people are like, that's not healthy. But either way, this impact on, doubling down, doing, getting back to basics. We hear all these things all the time. I want to hear your opinion on all of this, and what you're seeing kind of happen, and what you think about that.
It's hard. And I, the way that we kind of talk about it internally is more you have to look at yourself. You can't be looking, for outside validation on what you do, right? Mm-hmm. The only thing that you can control are the things you can control, right? So your calls, your emails, your texts, your Popeyes, all these types of activities, the things that you're in charge of, right? I can't control the deals, right? I can't control offers. Those are a result. And how I feel as an agent, or how my ability to cope with 100 crazy clients or whatever, that's personal. No one can tell me, you can love your coach, but the coach might say, go harder, work harder, do more calls. And you might not be able to, right? In that moment, or that day, or that hour, or that week, you might need to take a break. And so being able to it's really easy for me to say, yeah, we need to double down our activities, or we need to, triple them or quadruple them. Right. But I think without being able to listen internally to ourselves, and, listen, we all have other parties in our lives, right? We might have a partner, we might have, a spouse or kids or whatever, and or friends and family. And those almost need to be more important than anything else. Mm-hmm. And I think being able to listen to internally about how these things are, how our activities or how our work is affecting those relationships, is probably how I can answer that question. Yeah. You need to be able to sit there and say, hey, am I being the best person I am, maybe spiritually, or, to my family or to my friends? And am I having a blast at work? Am I doing the best that I can at work? Right. If we start with, the big rocks in the jar, and then the smaller, that type of thing, for me, that hustle mentality can still be a mentality while taking some days off, or, being strict with my time. Being able to set aside, 2 hours in the morning to spend with my girls, and then, 4 to 7 in the evening to spend with them around dinner time before bed. That's the goal. That's every day's goal. And so being able to kind of structure how you do your life, and you can still be busy. You can still go out and hustle and, go door knock yourself to death, but at the end of the day, if those other things in your life aren't given the attention that they deserve to you, then none of it, the rest of it will matter. And it's so easy to burn out, and it's so easy to, like I could go to every seminar in the world and get hyped up, but if I don't have my family to support me, or if I don't have my friends, or even, anyways, any of those important relationships, to me, having that balance is so key.
Yeah. So many good points there. Funny enough, I just had a conversation with my own team last Thursday. And we were talking about prospecting and the activities and what is needed in order to have the consequences or the results or the outcomes you're looking for today, and how important that is. And, of course, I was reminding them, like, I don't think the problem for most agents, honestly, is that they're really doing too much. That's my opinion. Sometimes I think that they're just not as organized with how they do it. So it kind of they end up like doing, let's just say the goal is to make 100 dials, right? And have, conversations. They will work themselves up so much about the rejection, the this, the that. And then when they do it, to me, they're probably so, like, they work themselves up emotionally and mentally that it just makes it harder. Instead of just kind of like, listen, let's just get intentional. Let's say I'm going to commit 2 hours to this. I'm going to do it because the reality is I want to do it for 2 hours right now instead of taking 6 hours to do the same activity, which then causes me more stress, which causes me to be late for my dinner tonight with my family, which causes me to like have them be mad at me because I'm not present or I'm distracted. And it's like, instead of, I'm just like, just get really like intensely focused for a short amount of time, commit that time. And then the rest of your time is free. And plan, to your point, plan that personal time, plan those breaks, plan that vacation so that you can get the most out of the efforts that you're putting in, so you can protect your mental health. You can protect your state of being. You can not burn out. You can continue to like keep pushing. Does that make sense?
There's a reason why your Apple Watch, I don't have one, so I'm going to speak like I know what I'm talking about, but there's a reason why your Apple Watch tells you to stand up and go do things, right? You need that mental break. You need that mental reminder to stop focusing on that task and just change your activities. I recently sat down with one of my guys and realized, like, he was really in that kind of same state where he's like, I'm getting frustrated about doing the stuff. He's been in the business for years. I think it was like 6-7 years. He knows his script, big script guy, cold caller, no issues. And he was getting kind of, wasn't really motivated and trying to drill into it. I'm like, well, at the end of the day, I realized, like, he said something about, I don't want to feel salesy. And I'm like, that's because that's not who you are. You're not a salesy person. So the scripts, and why the scripts are there, and how important they are. But why don't we just take a new frame of mind to say, be a little bit more yourself? And this is something that I've been really focused on lately for everyone, is like allowing yourself to be you, right? And giving yourself permission to not have to be that salesperson, to be the you person, and clients want to work with the authentic you. They want to work with you. And maybe you're a funny person and you can tell jokes, but you're holding back because you don't want to offend somebody, or you don't want to say the wrong thing, or you don't think it's professional enough, right? Like losing some of those things that are holding you back from being you when you're doing your cold calls or door knocking, or you're just even in a showing. I think all of a sudden you start to enjoy it more and you start to want to do it more. You're right. And even those small barriers around, like, that are stopping you. And I think listening to internally, what am I not enjoying? If I'm not doing a task, if I'm like dragging my heels to do something, and maybe there's a reason, and then trying to kind of pinpoint what it is. And often it's talking to someone, to either a therapist or your team lead or your broker or your managing broker, or even sometimes your partner is a little too close to it to understand, but right, having someone to talk to, just being able to understand it a little bit better.
Yeah, no, it's such good points. And I kind of want to bridge what I was saying earlier with what you're saying too. It's like, I really feel like sometimes where agents miss really bringing out the best in themselves is they don't actually have clarity on like why they're doing this. Why, like, have you written it down? Have you gotten super hyper clear on like why prospecting is important, why door knocking might be important, why selling more houses is important, or selling.
But even your goals, right? Like
Yeah.
what is the benefit
Yeah.
of me selling 100 homes this year, right?
Yeah.
What do I get out of that? What does that power look like to me? Like, what does my life look like at the end of that year if I've hit my goals? And what does it look like if I don't hit my goals, right? I don't get to take my family on this specific trip, and and so on and so on.
Yeah. And then you talking about your friend with the prospecting thing, like again, from my meeting I did with my team last week. And I wish I'd recorded it because it actually was really good. Even my team was like, that was a good meeting. But I was talking to him about how prospecting is sales, not selling. And I played a clip that was brought to my attention was from the Wolf of Wall Street, "Sell me this pen." And are you familiar with this clip?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So if for those of you in our audience, like if you DM me, I will send you, it's a 5-minute YouTube video that like puts together all the pieces. It's really, really good. But it's like, Jordan, the main character of this, gets interviewed about, sell me this pen, that story. And he's like, listen, guys, you're not in the business of selling something to someone that they don't need. So that's what makes salesy people salesy, is that they're trying to sell you something you don't need or want. Well, we don't sell houses. Houses, you can't make someone buy or sell a house, right? Like they either need it and want it or they don't. What we do sell is our service. And our goal there is just to say, hey, if and when, if ever you need to perform this activity, there's no one better to help you than me, right? Like that's what we're doing. And so, why wouldn't you want to do that? Why wouldn't you want to work with as many people as possible? Because they get to enjoy that amazing smile, that amazing energy, like, and know that you care about them.
And imagine you took that pressure off, right? Yourself of saying, oh my God, I have to sell this house, right? Instead, what if it was more like, yeah, I know all the ins and outs of this house. I can tell you all the pros and the cons, or maybe it's a property I'm not, familiar with. So I can, as I see stuff, I can point that out because I've got a number of years of experience. I know that a crack like that isn't a concern because it's parging. There's some, whatever, right? Like,
Right.
And I think that's what we have to remind ourselves about. We're never going to sell someone a home that they don't want, right? Like, and so if you can remove that and just go that I'm more of a consultant. I'm here to help them navigate this process, this buying and selling process. I'm here to make sure they fully understand the forms and make sure they understand the pros and cons of this area. And maybe, there's a new train line going in right there, or maybe there's a new school going in there, or, whatever. Like that's our job. Our job isn't to sell anything. It's to help them navigate through it.
I know. So good. So true. Now, speaking of sales, let's shift to marketing. See how I did this marketing shift, right? So we are seeing, agents are having to maybe do some marketing that they didn't have to do 12 months ago, 24 months ago, because we're, doing more activity. We have to, expand what we're doing today to find the customers that need our help. What shifts are you seeing from that perspective? Where do you think agents should pay attention, should start, exploring and going in on, especially if you want more people to call, you got to get their contact information somehow. You got to engage them somehow. What are some of those shifts you're seeing from a marketing perspective?
So I think number one, it comes with, I think that the easy one of just everyone's got to do more, right? That's number one. I think number two, as an agent now, you got to go back to willing to try everything. I think that's, find your voice, find your niche, depending where you are in Canada or US. But, and I think you need to then start focusing on those activities. So, I had this like video I did a while back where Tim O'Toole was like, yeah, you've got to be you stop being a bumblebee. You got to focus on the certain things. And I'm like, sure. But at the beginning, you've got to try everything. You've got to try and see what's your voice and what you enjoy doing, right? Do you enjoy door knocking? Are you good at scripts and cold calling? And maybe you're horrible and you want to stick to, behind the computer and more like internet-based stuff. And so, and then I think once you've figured it out, then you need to focus. And that's, I think right now it's really easy for agents to say, okay, I've been doing double the activities for months, still not seeing those come through. got internet leads that, yeah, you tell me they're 8 to a year in terms of months away, but they're still not converting. I'm getting frustrated. I need new avenues. I need to now, maybe I got to start doing Facebook ads. I got to start, I got to build another website. And I think it sometimes just slowing down, looking at the numbers, reviewing go over what we just finished Q1. So look over your Q1 numbers, look over Q4 numbers, look at how you were performing year over year, and start saying, hey, like, I really want to focus on this. Wow, I didn't realize I had so much success at open houses. Why don't I start doing those a little bit more? Or, I had a ton of clients now for my sphere. Let's go back into those again. Let's maybe, add some more marketing money there. And so some of the shifts that I'm seeing are just agents feeling a bit of the crunch and saying, hey, let's try other things, a little bit of the flashy object syndrome going on. And then I'm starting to see a bit of a shift with some agents who have they've been solid performers for year after year, right? Maybe they're ones that didn't, let's say, adopt social media as much, or they weren't maybe as focused on their clients before, their past clients, going, ooh, like, where's all this business coming from that you guys are getting, or that person's getting, right? And then now they're saying, they're going, okay, maybe I should get on Instagram, or maybe I should start doing, right. And it's again, it's just about constantly, even if you've been in the business for years, challenging yourself, saying, all right, let's try some new stuff. What else is new out there? Right. How else can I do this job and enjoy it, and paying attention to the industry and some trends and going. I think we're seeing some agents just not having adopted, and now feeling the crunch of their business, going, okay, we need to start doing these things.
So good. So many interesting points there. It actually reminds me of one of our core values for our team is learn, master, grow. And what I hear you saying is take a moment to reflect on the past, what worked, what wasn't working, what can we learn from that? And then, like, hey, going forward, let's pick something to kind of add into our repertoire, add it to our tool belt, like, figure this out, get really good at it, and then use that also to level up and grow our business. And I think that's like super important that people have to be reminded, because a lot of times we get kind of stuck and this is the way we do it, and this is the way I've always done it. And
it's
like,
easy. It's
yeah,
easy.
yeah,
Life is good.
Yeah. And there's no growth there, but also too, if you miss, like, when the market changes or things happen and like you get compressed, you got to find some ways to break out of that. And like, because most of us want to do the same or better as last year, not significantly worse, at the end of the day.
I think we often forget that we as real estate agents are a business. And I really do. And, maybe around tax time, we get reminded, but we have to enter in 1,000 receipts, or ticky-tacking them away, and we're doing our stuff. But like, I think we have to remind ourselves, and that's like, now it's a big one where we try and do quarterly reviews internally, like little internal audits. And I think that forcing yourself to think a little bit more like that will go a long way, where you're saying, okay, I do need to analyze what I did this past quarter. I do need to analyze what I spent my money on. Yeah. And being able to say, oh, that was really good. Wow. I didn't think that, open houses like that were so successful lately. Being able to just to try, because I think if you don't do it, you obviously have certain trends in your mind, but being able to pull them out of your mind and factually prove them to yourself is so huge.
Yeah.
Right.
I read something recently in one of the books I'm reading. They talked about having like a winning journal, meaning like you journal the wins that you have, and that it gives you something to look back on and reflect on. And that's so true. Like, to your point, it's like taking a moment to kind of reflect back and acknowledge the wins, acknowledge the lessons. How is that going to change or grow you going forward? How often do we take that time to get that perspective, and just how much faster we could accelerate forward if we would take the time to do that? It's like my friend Veronica used to say, you got to slow down to speed up. And that sounds really weird, but
it's so hard. It's so hard.
It's hard. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Saying, okay, hold on. I'm going to stop everything.
Yeah.
I'm just going to slow it down. Yeah. But by doing that, by saying, okay, this one system, this one process, it's not working so well. If we stop it and just reanalyze it slowly, you're going to improve it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. So good. Well, Matt, thank you so much. I like to end these with a couple of questions that I think are just kind of neat. And it's my what's next questions, like what's next for you. And so my first question is, what's your next event that you're
My
going
next
to?
event.
That you're excited.
So I'm on the board of directors for our local MLS. So we've got the Canadian Real Estate Association AGM happening in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to be attending that. That's going to be the next one for me. So.
That's awesome. And I imagine everyone local in Canada needs to just go if you're a realtor.
Yeah,
For the good
anyone
of
in
it.
organized real estate. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. My what's next question is, what's the next project or investment that you are planning in the next, 12 to 18 months or sooner? Is there a next project or next investment for you?
Yeah. I think it's two things. One is we're expanding our office space. So a couple of years ago, we took our own retail space. So we're expanding from 700 square feet to 3,000 square feet. That's the big one for this year. And then we're looking at some HR moves. So bringing on a video person would be huge for us right now, where we're trying to just grow. But it's all one step at a time, right? You no idea what's around the corner. So we just like to, keep focusing kind of day after day with some goals in mind. But those are the two for sure for this year.
Awesome. And then the last question is, what's the next family vacation? What's the next personal trip?
Oh, we've got New York planned for the summer this year.
Oh.
But yeah, I don't know. If you were to ask her, she'd be like, there's not enough. There's not enough. I've done too much traveling this year so far. And so this is
And
like,
it's all work related.
yeah, it's all conferences and work stuff. So it's all, well, no, I did. Yeah. Anyways, I took some time and I was sailing in the BVI's for a week this year. And so she was stuck with the kids. And so, yeah, this is a sore topic in my house right now. Yeah. So New York I kind of use New York as at least the saving grace for me. So
Is it just the two of you, or?
no,
You
it's
get
the
the
four
kids?
of us.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's us plus the kids, but that's cool. To me, that we enjoy that, right? So, but we're also moving and we're dealing with a ton of we're literally building a house. We're literally homeless for 2 weeks right now.
Oh,
So anyways, there's just chaos in every department right now. So yeah.
I would just say, I feel like that's life.
But that's it, right?
Yeah,
Anyways,
that's
yeah.
life. Man, I feel for you though. I really do. I've been there. I've been in that transition between homes before. And yeah, that's complicated. But I wish you well and your family. You're an amazing human. I love you so much, brother. And I appreciate you. And thank you so much for sharing your insights, knowledge, and experience with the audience today. So thank you, Matt.
Thank you so much. And again, every moment I get to spend with you is always such a good one. And so it's always we usually go a little deeper than this. We're staying pretty light, and I like that today. But yeah, no, thank you so much for having me today.
Yes, thank you. And where can people find you if they want to send you referrals, send you business? Like, what's the best way to find you?
Just Google Matt Ottawa. You'll find newpurveyors.com, mattrichling.com, anything like that. You'll find me. I'm up in Ottawa, Canada. We still have snow here. There's like a pile of snow beside me. So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Or my igloo's actually melting right now. It's unfortunate. This is why I'm homeless. So
Oh my God, that's awesome. And I know people can also find you on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Go friend this man, go follow him. He's awesome, amazing, great content, great ideas, great inspiration.
Yeah, everyone knows the other Matt Leonetti. So I'm the other Matt Richling. Yeah, so you can
Love that. All right, Matt, thank you so much. Have a great day. I appreciate your time and you are the best.
Thank you so much. Bye.